Welcome back, Mail-In Podcast. Happy Thursday to all of the Mail-In listeners out there. I am your host, Brett Merriman from lovely Austin, Texas, a mile from Austin, Texas. To my right is nobody because we have a special guest today. That special guest is KJ Ellis, live from the Great White North up in Wisconsin, somewhere outside of Madison. Go Badgers.
Yeah, not far at all.
Hey, KJ.
Happy to be here with you, Brent. I am enjoying what is now known to me as the real summer. Whopping like 80, mid 80s, low 60s at night. Life is grand here in Dane County.
Just cool enough, gets down. You throw a long sleeve, maybe even like a rowback hoodie, something lightweight but still kind of full chested, around a bonfire. Look at that. He's got it right there.
Showed up in the mail 30 minutes ago.
No kidding.
Not maybe an hour ago. I'm lying. 30 minutes. I've been running through fire for the last 30. Yeah, new little rowback shipment.
Bang bang.
That hoodie.
Quarter zip weather. It's all approaching. Fall cometh very soon. I've been looking into a lot of weather stuff lately as we've been getting crushed with rain, which thank God. But I think the peak summer temperatures, or the peak temperature like in Austin, year over year is August 7th. So once we clear August 7th, and it changes throughout the country, but in Austin, it's August 7th. Once we clear that, we are on the decline. And I am so excited. Although this really hasn't been a bad summer, honestly, compared to last summer.
Yeah, the problem with knowing that is you're spinning it positively. Like everything else is going to be cooler after this.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also the line of demarcation where anything warm after that point is more inconvenient and you have less tolerance for, because you've hit the mountaintop and you're like looking forward to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So any difficult days you have from here on out now only seem that much more absurd.
And it gets borderline intolerable when the other parts of the country, more specifically like the Northeast where I'm from, start dipping into that mid-September like crispy days, and it's still 100 here. September hits like when I eventually move out of Austin, who knows when that'll be. September will be a big reason why, because it is just a mind-numbingly brutal to see home be crispy in fall, and here it's still 98. So anyway, that's weather talk with the Mail-In Podcast. We're going to get into it today. A couple questions. We got a voicemail. If you would like to ask a question or leave a voicemail, you could hit the hotline, 888-362-MAIL. That's 888-362-6245. Or you can write in the link in the Twitter bio at Mail-In Podcast or in the description of this episode. KJ, do you want to just hop right into it?
Let's dive in.
Let's get after it. Hello, Brett and Sally. And KJ. I forgot to edit the names. Hello, Brett and KJ. My wife and I just received a save the date for my friend that lives in London. The wedding would be next fall in London. The issue is that we have a 4-month-old. At the time of the wedding, he will be 20 months. So that's what, a year and a half or so. We could have her or my grandparents watch him, but I guess we are struggling with guilt of leaving him behind. Just a G-dub. My wife's friends got really judgmental when we brought up our excitement being invited to the wedding. One friend even said, I could never leave my kid to travel. It's irresponsible regardless of grandparent sleepovers. I don't think it's a bad thing to have parent time, especially when you have grandparents that are excited to take care of them without us hovering. KJ, Brett, well, KJ, this is for you. How do you and your spouse handle taking vacations or traveling without your children?
Well, I can't speak for Sally and Will. I can speak for the fact that they have an incredible support system and they are wise enough to rely upon it. It is something that should be cherished, not envied or made to be jealous over. As somebody who lives with the complete opposite, We have no direct or immediate family here in the Madison area.
Mhm.
If it were to be, when considering like, hey, do we want to go to a concert? Maybe it's in Milwaukee or do something out of the ordinary that might include an overnight stay. The initial thought is, okay, would a babysitter be involved? And let me back up and say, I've got a recently turned 2-year old and a 4-year old.
Mhm.
Both of them just turned 2 and 4. Um, and I'm thinking back to what our experience was as far as travel with the kids. We were probably around that 20-month mark when we got invited to Mexico for a wedding,
Mhm.
and we took on the grandparents' stay for the first time. Um, I kid you not, I could go find it, but it's not worth it. There's a 2-inch thick binder that my very detail oriented, loving, wonderful partner and wife put together for our two mothers who were kind of splitting the duties over 4 days. And I certainly saw the value in it. It's silly thinking now, like if somebody's watching, let's say they're just dog sitting, but
Mhm.
they're staying at your house. Or, and I don't want to equate kids or animals, but I just mean that as like the lowest barrier to someone living in your space for a range of days, um, which was what our situation was. Like, you're going to have to provide that Airbnb style amount of information on like just how to log into all your stuff.
Sure.
Now you multiply that by like logging into all your kids' stuff and what their routines are. So it's like, yeah, there's some logic behind like there's a lot of info to share. And that's a lot to dump on people. But I will tell you, there has not been a single moment that my wife or I have traveled, um, and we've not felt that guilt when gone. But that guilt leaves when you're back.
Totally.
Don't let that be the reason that you don't go. Let me clearly say that, and don't ever let somebody else like dump their fear of relying on a support system on you just because it's right for them or it's what makes them feel comfortable and confident. Do not allow that to like impact your sense of like parenthood.
I think it's b almost insane that somebody is making comments like this. If you have the support system and you're lucky enough to have the support system, like, I'm not saying take advantage of it, like,
Yeah,
it's not every week, but if you're traveling for the first time for one wedding and you're back, it's probably a better time to do it than when the kids are, like, 4, 5, 6, 7 in, like, they're kind of like, "Hey, where's mom and dad?" Like, "I wanna do stuff with mom and dad," when they're still kind of in a smaller mode where, their interests are a little more limited and their sleep schedule is a little more sleep heavy, right? It's like, "Oh, then now's the time to go." You're not leaving for a summer, and you're not leaving for weeks on end. If it's 6 days in London, like, that's I don't know. I guess the irresponsible comment irked me because I don't think it's irresponsible.
yeah, not at all.
I think it's, and just this judgmental, like, "I could never leave my kid to travel." No, I don't think it is irresponsible. I think as long as you arm whoever you're filling in the parenting time with, whether it's a grandparent or an aunt, uncle, extremely capable babysitter, it's not irresponsible. Now, I don't take
Yeah,
advantage of it and don't make it a habit, I guess, of
I wouldn't even qualify that.
Yeah,
The person who's asking this question isn't going to go out and be at the club every night.
right, right.
That's
Yeah,
not the same person because that person's not asking.
right.
You know, and then even then, one thing that I've learned is like you still have to be very, very delicate on how you like present your opinions on someone else's parenting approach, even within your own like relationship with your spouse. But you've got 16 months to prepare for it and become
Mhm,
okay with it. Like if it's that grand of a mountain to climb, you've got enough time. You're a good parent just in the fact that you're thinking of it now.
mhm.
The other person would probably be surprised what they could be prepared for 16 months from now and what their kids could handle because that's 5 lifetimes away
Sure,
when it comes
exactly.
to a 4-month old
Yeah.
and a 20-month old.
And I guess we're in a different era now too, where, like, FaceTime exists and calls, obvious so there's a little bit I think it's if it's 50 years ago, it's a little different than it is today. But I
Yeah.
think that should not stop you guys from attending. KJ, you want to do the next one?
Sure. Hey, Melon, long time, first time. I'm in a long distance relationship with my girlfriend who lives in South Florida. I live in upstate New York. Shout out to Brett. We've been making this work for the past year now. I have kind of hit a rough patch with my girlfriend as it relates to seeing each other. I'm currently in a full time intensive graduate program. My girlfriend works full time because of school schedule. I have more days off than she does. Every time I have a 4 day weekend or more, she expects me to fly down to see her. While I love my girlfriend, I feel like this is unfair. Though she is working full time, she is in a more financially stable place than I am. As a full time grad student who couldn't afford to fly, basically vacation every other month. But there's so much in New York that I want to explore. Sometimes I just want to enjoy being home in my city for a little bit. She offers to help pay for the flights. Honestly, in the last year, I've flown down there so many times that I'm just bored with it, despite her being down there, and have no desire to go to Florida. Every time I try to
Amen.
communicate to her, turns into her asking, "Do you not even want to see me?" Guess my question's two parts. Am I the asshole for not wanting to go down to South Florida every time I have a little bit of free time? And if not, how do I communicate this to her in a more effective way?
This is true long distance in every sense of the word. Obviously, you're getting on a
Yeah.
plane. Um, the first thing I kind of thought of when reading this question was the the fight that happens when he's like, I really don't want to go down this weekend, and she's like, well, you don't want to see me, and that's like this like no, that's not the case. So then it becomes a communication thing, and I think you paint a pretty good picture of it in your question. And that's stuff that you can explain to her, like, "Hey, it's a financial thing. It's a I wanna explore up here thing. It's a clearly the scale is not even when it comes to travel here, kinda thing, and even a financial situation and an education situation. So, there's a resource imbalance that you are, you know, making up for with effort and, it's not a two-way street. So I don't think you'd come at it with your girlfriend from like, you're doing something poorly and I'm doing something I'm putting in more effort. You come at it from like a, "Hey, here's what we've been doing. Here's what I need going forward. Here are like my needs. Here are my issues," and really just lay it out. And then maybe with a long distance relationship, you try to maybe kind of timeline when things could change. I know some people you're either very pro Florida and the weather are very anti Florida where I'm on the anti side of the spectrum. Really just the humidity and the bugs and that kind of thing. Love to visit. Couldn't spend much time there. Um, but this is just a true communication thing and no, you're not the asshole for wanting to stay home and explore.
Um, I agree. I think that there is another question to ask. Like, I think if you're beginning to internalize it, like, am I being an asshole? You're probably approaching the question of like, how much do I want this?
Sure.
Like
That's a
the
yep.
relationship, the distance, like, and separate the person from it, which is difficult to do. But like, how much do you want to do the work? Because if you love the person, you need to love to not, you don't have to love the work, but you have to want to do the work.
Mhm.
And that's going to be the case if she lives in the same house or on the other side of the country. My current wife and I, she lived in London to tie all of us together
Oh.
for a year or so, and early on in our relationship.
Mhm.
And at that point, I was the immediate post grad job where whatever I was doing was, you know, probably, and this is no offense, Randy, I love you, on par with like Jimmy John's driver
Mhm.
wages at the time. So, like, the concept of buying a ticket to London, not to mention like living 6 hours apart, just from a social life standpoint, was definitely difficult to balance for. And there was a huge disconnect when it came to financials.
Mhm.
I'm not here to say like it was all happy, joyful existence. It was probably some of the toughest times, both of our relationship and just of like those years and period. But I did learn a lot of like the communication part is key.
Mhm.
It's good that you guys are at least trying to have the conversation. If you want to improve on how to have the conversation, which it seems like you're receptive of, is just starting with questions. And then really isolating and asking yourself the honest question of is if the work is truly becoming too much, but you want to figure out a way through it, it sounds like if you don't want to go to Florida, I imagine flights to Atlanta are much cheaper, given it's a large hub to fly to. You probably could get to Orlando much cheaper. Um, and what her interest would be in saying, okay, great, we'll meet there, and it's a less of a time investment.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's going to be more costs on both sides because you're traveling somewhere, but it satisfies your need and want to explore and do more things, continuing to grow in that manner.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like when you're at the end of this rainbow of your school time and whatever position she's in, you don't want to live in Florida. So
Yeah.
you
There,
might be
there's
best off figuring out where you're going to be, because if Florida ain't it, you probably should invest some of this extra time meeting elsewhere.
exactly, exactly. And if you know that and she's open to that, it sounds like she's not super crazy about leaving South Florida, but so then you have an ultimatum situation going on. It's like, okay, well, is this effort and time and energy worth it? And if the person is, then okay, we'll continue down this path. But if you're sort of at your end of the rope to begin with, then maybe we enjoy upstate New York with somebody else. But I'm
Hey,
not saying
as
to,
a noted pro backslider, I will always advocate end it on good terms.
yeah, exactly. What up, squad? Hey, when replacing something you broke, is the etiquette to replace the actual item or the monetary value of the item? For example, my buddy was playing my drums and cracked one of my cymbals. The cymbal retails brand new for about $400. I purchased it used. I agree, KJ. You had a reaction at cymbals are $400. I purchased it used on Facebook Marketplace for about $200. The best used option I found online is around $300 and not as nice as the quality as the one he broke. Think like a driver that works just fine but is scuffed up. Neither option seems fair to all parties. So, what's the proper replacing what I broke etiquette?
Drumflation, folks.
Drumflation
It
is
affects off
right.
all of us.
I'm an ally for those in the music community that want to lower the prices on musical instruments.
Can't burn my drum sets. Um, I think the circumstances in which the item was broke are key.
Okay.
Obviously, we're dealing with musician and or musicians here. If this is I loaned somebody a kit for a gig
Mhm.
and they like broke it while on set and it was a genuine mistake, which it seems like it is, and it seems like both parties are like willing to come to some sort of solution. Like, if that's the case, honestly, whatever they're willing to contribute and whatever you feel like they're capable of like trying to make whole. Um, if it's their responsibility to like replace what they broke and that's their impression, they know what the item is. You just send them a picture of it, name and item number, and you let them figure it out.
Mhm.
I think you going through the work of like, hey, well, I bought it here and this is how much it costs, like that's all kind and fine of you. If that's like where you want to meet them, you just ask for the $200
Yeah. Right.
because then, yeah, you're out an extra 200. You've got to pay another 200, and that's not cheap. But if you really are genuinely trying to like meet them in the middle on it, just do that and move on.
That's the thing is are you trying to meet in the middle or are you trying to replace the full item? Like I think about the driver is a perfect example. That thing's 500, $600 brand spanking new. You've probably hit it 1,000 times, and it might be one swing away. Your buddy steps up. He's like, "Oh, can I try that?" And he does nothing else besides hit it correctly. And then there's a scuff or a ball mark. Am I going to meet him in the middle? Absolutely. If my buddy takes my driver and snaps the shaft over his knee,
Right.
then
That's
it's
a
a
whole
different
different thing.
story.
Yeah.
So I think the intent, you know, the intent matters. If your buddy frisbeed your cymbal across the room at his bassist, is a bassist?
A
Yeah.
bassist, I believe.
The intent matters. I'm meeting my buddy in the middle in this situation, so I would go for what you said, the $200 it was bought in for on your side of it. You got a good deal, and then you replace it because it sounds like had you been playing the drums for another month or whatever, it's breaking anyway. So this situation you meet in the middle, but etiquette is case by case basis. Intent matters. Um, Accident obviously matters, but if generally, I spill my buddy's beer, I got his next one, right? And so the financial discrepancy matters,
Yeah.
but that's an interesting one. I think there's a lot of examples you can be like, well, I borrowed your car, and I now a tail light's out. Is it on? Is it my fault that the tail? There's a lot of.
Yeah.
The more I think about this question, the more I'm like, there's examples that I don't know if I have an answer for.
I think my last thought on it will be it's also not worth the friendship. Like, know
Yeah.
that. Unless you just don't like the person, like it ain't worth litigating to high heaven. Like just make a decision and move on.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, make sure it's amicable because it is not worth fighting over
Yeah.
$100. You like throughout a relationship, you're gonna exchange that amount, like you said,
Mhm.
over a couple beers, or an Airbnb of some sort, or whatever
Yeah.
it might be. That those monies are gonna change hands. It's not worth it.
The friendship tab it tends to have a way of
Yeah.
evening out. Randy, what have you broken of your friends?
Nothing. I'm very responsible.
Extremely responsible,
Hearts?
Randy over there. Yeah, he was just breaking hearts over there.
Sure. I don't know what the monetary value of a heart is, but what, some
Ooh,
chocolates
KJ
and
could probably
flowers or
tell
something
you.
like that? What's the, oh, that's a good, that should be one of our country songs. What's the monetary value of a heart?
That's a terrible song.
Yeah,
but yeah, go
Exactly.
ahead.
That's the point.
We've written some bangers, KJ, that we'll release to the mail-in audience one day. We've created an AI country superstar, but we
Okay.
can't figure out the name. It's either my
Don't
first.
don't repo my heart is the song that you need to go.
There
for.
we go.
There you go.
Don't
Randy.
repo my heart. There's something about a pickup truck with I don't know. We'll figure that out. Brett Ryan or Randall Francis. We can't tell which one we're going to go with. Brett Ryan's the douchier one, but Randall
Brett
Francis.
Ryan's got to be the right one.
Right. If we're doing like pop country D-bag, Brett Ryan is too good. Randall Francis is like a sick
1,000.
country name, but not in what we're doing.
I think it should be a collab of the two.
Brett Ryan Francis.
Oh no! Hold on. Let's back up. You need 3 names, or you need an abbreviate. You need like a junior with it.
Oh,
Like thinking of the great Wheeler Walker Jr. specifically, or you need to be like Johnny David.
yes.
Francis, you know what I mean?
Okay.
You need 3 names.
Okay, we'll workshop it. KJ, we have a voicemail here. Are you ready?
I'm good.
Please comment on Southwest ending their long-standing open seating policy.
Southwest is changing their seating policy. Are you familiar with this story, KJ?
I am.
So
It's a Dallas native. This broke close to home.
Right, Love Field.
They're headquartered in Dallas too, but yes.
So at first, Will had the comment. I'll pour out my coworker here. Will said that low IQ people are celebrating, high IQ people are cringing. And I was like, wait a second. I think,
That's why I didn't respond.
yeah, I was like, I think high IQ people are celebrating because now,
Wrong.
okay. Well, Randy, what's your hot take on this?
No, complete your thought. I'll come back in.
No, I think the masses and the chaos that Southwest promotes with their antiquated policy of herding us up like barn animals and pouring people in creates more, it creates more headache, more time spent looking for seats, and the overhead bin situation is a nightmare. Now, do I think assigned, purchase your seat at the time of purchase seating is perfect? No. Perfect world, we're filling the plane back to front. Right? So everybody has their
Yeah, but that's just about boarding, though.
yeah, oh yeah.
Are you talking ticket purchase or seat selection in general? Which side are you attacking with that?
I'm attacking the time issue is what loading the plane from the rear, not like the person in 38C gets on the plane first, All I'm talking about is first class, like boarding group 1 enters through the rear. So you come in
Got
and
it.
fill the plane from front to back, but it's just done so people aren't standing, in the way of each other, right? I think that would save the most time. But I'm an assigned seating guy because I don't like how people take advantage of the system at Southwest and, you know, cut in front. I don't like their check-in policy of setting an alarm and then having to get on my phone and then be 36. So I am happy about this change. I'm not poo-pooing it, but where do you stand on this, KJ?
I think there's rightful frustration with knowing that this is going to open up. Like, I don't think that this is looked at from Southwest's vantage point of, hey, we want our customers to have this experience, picking their seats versus having them open. It's that we want to be able to sell different seat sizes and seat spaces to
Absolutely.
customers.
This is a financial thing,
And
100%.
That's where I'm
it's a
at.
money
too.
play.
That's just going to be annoying that like now I'm going to have to pay extra if I want to guarantee a window seat or an aisle
No,
seat.
they'll do like what every airline does. The front 10 rows or so, you'll have like the $30 window aisle option, and you get another 3 or 4 inches of leg room. And then the back seats will still they'll just be you select it, right? And then you're 14D or whatever it might be.
I don't know. I just booked one on Air Canada, and I was gonna have to pay extra to sit in a window seat when like the plane was probably like 10% full.
Yeah, they'll get you.
Pro move here and advice just in general. I prefer being able to purchase my seat. I do not love like the varied algorithm like American Airlines. Again, I'm originally from Dallas, and that's just kind of what the closest airport and the hub that I had. So I know there's a lot of strong feelings even within Dallas about American, but it's the one that I've got like the most loyalty built up with. The problem I have with the like pay extra for seats is like the huge variance of on this leg of the flight, it's going to be $17 to get some extra leg room for a more full flight. For this leg of the flight, for a similar seat that is less full, it's going to be $87.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what drives me crazy is like, just make these class of seats $35 to upgrade to, $50 to upgrade to. Whatever I paid for my ticket has nothing to do with it. But I know, great, I got this ticket for $280 one way. If I want to move up, it's going to be an extra $50.
Mm-hmm.
Like, keep that part consistent and I'll be happier. But this does allow me to continue to game the system by picking a seat, usually a middle seat, and then change it like 24 hours or like right around check-in time. I'll switch my seat to one that is in my preferred location just to dissuade people from, booking those other two seats together. What often will happen is they'll like reassign my seat. Sure, fine. I'm okay with it. But then I will still always hunt down opportunities to say, oh, okay, I'm going to line up behind the row that costs way more. That's where my seat's going to be. The moment that everybody's boarded, like in Randy's flight, if it is not full, I'm moving. And I have no hesitation about being, okay, everybody's boarded. I'm moving into a seat. I'm not waiting on somebody to offer it to me or flight attendant say, oh, you can move up if you want. Nope,
Yeah.
My exit row. I'm good.
I don't hate that.
Affirmative vocal, yes.
I don't hate that. Affirmative vocal, yes. Once the boarding door is closed, you run the risk if you're kind of if nobody else is boarding but it's still open, you're like, well, there's that seat right there. I'm thinking about it. Boarding door closed. I don't hate that. Now I'm probably knee deep in a podcast at that point and leaning my head against the window, so I it's gonna take a really nice looking seat for me to move. But
Oh yeah,
I respect
I'm
it.
aisle exclusively.
Where do you stand on the shade up, shade down?
Down 100%, 199%. Unless it's nighttime over a city or you're flying like into Madison. We live on an isthmus. Beautiful geographical unique thing where all of our downtown is on an isthmus, which is the body of land between two lakes or bodies of water. It's pretty cool to see. So if you're landing and you're approaching landing, great. pop that bad boy open. If you want to get one pick with the clouds up, great, pop that bad boy open. None of these are allowed pre 9 a.m. And none of those are allowed in the middle, like 90% of the flight for anything longer than time to take a photo.
Oh, you would hate me, KJ.
You keep it open the whole time?
I keep it. Well, there's etiquette, right? There's etiquette to this thing. I am an empathetic flyer,
Okay.
right? If somebody's baby's screaming and crying, no problem. You get nothing but a smile from me. My window shade, it starts with when you're on the ground and like the plane is orientate. Why can't I say that? Orientating.
When you're getting
itself,
piped
right?
from the right or from the left.
Yeah, when we're taxiing and doing that kind of stuff, we need I need some sort of visual I need a visual point of reference, right?
Okay.
So that's why it's open on the ground through takeoff. Also, so you can identify problems, right?
So you can get out there and you can help
Get
out.
there. If I was on that plane, then unless you're right before 9 a.m. If it's dark out, excuse me, if people are trying to sleep, if it's a 6 a.m. flight, total respect. Take off, shade down. We're not trying to get the sun in people's eyes. If the sun is coming in directly at all, that sucker's
Correct.
going down. So I believe me, I understand there's an etiquette thing here, but for me, it's the view that 99.9% of humans have never had in their life, and I get very sentimental and a sense of wonder about it. Maybe even whimsical. You could go there.
Yeah, for 3 hours though.
But that's the problem is I love maps, Randy. I love maps. So every time we fly anywhere, I'm doing a little I'm like, oh, what's that river is probably this thing and those mountain. I go straight up like GeoGuessr when I'm flying, and then I reference little flight map. I watched the
Respect.
flight map for 3 hours. Everyone's
Agreed.
like, what movie did you watch? I was like, I watched the flight map. I watched my little freaking
On the
plane
same
tick
page.
tick across.
I guess I should add, as long as you're respectful of, if you're flying south and it's in the afternoon, if you're on the right side of the plane, those do not open. Because, whatever side the sun is setting or rising on. Same thing, coming north, usually the right side of the plane in the daytime,
Yeah.
obviously flip-flop. That just is, an absolute must. I would also go as far to say it's your responsibility if that little half window that's kind of between you and the next row up, maybe nobody's in that seat. If it's open and the sun's piping in and your shade is down, it's on you to shut that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I cannot tell you how many times I'm getting absolutely blasted from somebody's Apple Watch or iPad reflection of the sun coming through the window and it's bouncing into my face. And I'm just I know it's not anybody's fault here, but this sucks.
I agree. I've taken my watch off before because I start to see the little like a cat sees the little dot moving around, and then I'm like, oh, I have an angle on somebody. Now, if it's your buddy, I'm doing it on purpose from across the 100%.
You got to.
And he's like drinking his little tequila drink, and you're just like, ha.
Get your
feel
phone
you
out
feel like
and
Iron
just-
Man, yeah. But listen, there's etiquette to it. People, the Reddit discussions get borderline people are getting very personal when in the Reddit. If you Reddit shade up, shade down, plain Reddit. There's some name. There's some
tell
name
all
calling.
those people I'll be the first person to stand up and they can fight me over it.
Wait, you stand up on the plane?
Oh, you're a stand-up lander too?
Do you think those seats are very comfortable for me to just hang out in the entire flight? Where I want to be sitting there wedged in, avoiding, getting half a harassment charge every time the flight attendant passes by.
Oh, no. Okay.
So yeah, I will be saying, but I will say also this, I'll stand up, but I'm not stand up, grab all my stuff and I'm ready to go.
Okay.
I'll stand up, stretch, mostly to give the person to my right room, especially if I don't know them.
That's
because I've been just bundled up as I've got a wide berth to these shoulders. It's got to give some space.
Great for wrapping up.
That's usually
not
my
great
reason.
not great for plane seats. Okay. That's fair.
Correct.
I'm glad you're not a stand up, get your stuff and try to advance your position guy. Those people.
No. Oh, no. That's a whole different. And I never play the whole I've got to catch a flight thing. Like if anything, I do my service back because I then become the, hey, can you get that bag for me guy?
Sure.
Which I hate.
Mm-hmm.
But I accept it because I'm standing and I'm more than capable usually.
Okay. Fair points all around. If you're a stand-up and advance your position person, just you can unsubscribe. Go ahead.
Oh,
Not on my
miss ya.
watch.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I will not move.
I do become sort of a police. If I'm in an aisle seat, which is very rare, as I mentioned, I love the view. I'll be sort of a traffic cone, perhaps. I'd go as far as to say a traffic. Who's the person that I can't think today? Who's the
Blockade.
the cross
Oh,
like
cross
hey,
guard.
yeah, crossing guard. Yeah, no, I'll hold up. I'll be like, nah, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Also, if
unless
somebody-
I see a child that seems to be en route to a restroom or in a meltdown,
Mhm.
I ain't having it, man. I ain't having it.
I will also police if you're trying to merge, and we're like in a line of traffic, and you're in a lane that's open, and you're buzzing down.
You're trying to go all the way down.
You're trying to go
Oh,
all
yeah.
the way down.
Sit right there in the middle, the
Oh,
dotted
yeah.
lines. Like
Yeah.
no way.
Guess who you're not getting in front of? Me.
Yeah,
It's a line. It's like the wall. It's like the Game of Thrones.
great reference. Yeah,
Don't
to
bend the
put
wall.
to put a bow on this, I think that
Sick reference.
I don't like this happening with Southwest because I think they're going to start charging for seats. Do
100%.
upgrades, and then
There's
that's
no
just that's just a snow, like the first domino fall that they're gonna then start charging for carry-on bags and like extra. There's so much stuff that Southwest, the 2 free check bags and everything that like I really like about them, but this might just be the first domino fall, and then they just become like every other airline.
But you
It's
know what?
gonna
You still can't beat that.
Good afternoon, folks. This is your pilot speaking. This is I'm Captain Brett Merriman. We have my first officer with me. That's Randall Trembacki, 38 years in Southwest. Folks, we're going to be flying up to Madison, Wisconsin today. 2 hours and 49 minutes. Skies are partly cloudy up there. Looks like a beautiful day. 73. Blade flying at 34,000 feet today. We have a more than capable flight crew to assist you with anything you might need, and we'll be pushing back here in a minute. So sit back, relax, enjoy the flight, and we'll hit you in a little bit with
I know you want me to do the extra audio stuff again. I just don't know if I want to do it today. The extra audio little things I did last time.
It is fantastic. I just
Randy gets on the mic and does his rap of the safety instructions.
Yeah.
No. I can add some audio effects to make Brett even sound more like a pilot.
It's
I've done it in a previous mail-in episode.
Anyway, let's go to the next one. Shouts to Southwest. You can have my money. I am a Delta boy though. They're having a rough week.
Fair.
Yeah. Hey guys, to expand off the paying for the date question last week, I agree about the guy paying for the first couple dates, but when should the lady start pitching in? At what point is she calling a guy for a foodie call? A term I have never heard before.
I've never heard this, and I'm going to be very
We're not
quick.
doing foodie call.
Foodie call.
Foodie call. That's funny. Date 4, if she hasn't paid by date 4, I'm like, all right, what the fuck's going on here?
Ooh.
Like, I'm not that to me at that point, it's like, if they haven't even offered to pitch in by like date 4, I'm kind of like,
You're getting
all
foodie
right.
called?
It's like, all right, like are you going to help out? Are you taking any effort into this at all?
Especially if the dates are sort of like ascending in, whether it's quality or price. If you start it, call it TGI Fridays, and now you're going to a steakhouse date 4, and you're still getting 100% of the bill without so much as like oh, hey, let me get the round of drinks or something like that. I'll say, situations are different. Obviously, there's, different, every situation is custom, right? But as a general rule, I think I'm kind of with you, Randy. Date 4, you're looking for at least some sort of effort, or hey, I'll get this round of drinks before we go to dinner, and then the dinner's bill is still fully yours. But date 4-ish, I'd like to see some sort of go for the wallet somewhere. Effort. KJ,
She's
you're
going-
shaking your
They
head.
are going for the wallet.
Foodie call.
I would advise, only reason I was shaking my head is you brought up what is like my absolute kryptonite when it came to dating and or early relationship when these conversations were more regular for me. And that is the drinks before dinner. I think how
Ooh,
you're
okay.
structuring these dates, like set the playing field in your favor first off. Like
Whose
the whole
team are you
focal
on here?
point,
Are you saying?
I'm saying if you're concerned with like not splitting cost wise,
Mhm.
but also I would be very shocked if anyone's experienced present day, again, been out of the game a little bit, allegedly. No, I'm kidding. Been out of the game a little bit. If anyone's dating experience is strictly like centered on we're going to this restaurant meeting 1, we're going to this restaurant meeting 2, and same thing on meeting 3 and 4. I would imagine you're mixing in like some sort of experience. You're hitting a concert, you're hitting some, a place or some activity in there that's saddled along with it. And I think that's when you begin to say, you're not saying, but like you have opportunities for additional input.
Okay.
Maybe you're not buying both tickets for the concert. Hey, I got my ticket, GA ticket to blah, blah, blah. Are we going? Great. If, I wouldn't do that date 1, but again, start leaving it out there. Like there's some joint input here. Doesn't mean you wouldn't buy dinner after a concert or before. Again, that's going to be a smaller cost. I'm not saying you're splitting, quick taco deli expense. I don't know why they're the focal point of this week, but it gives you more opportunities to start having someone else put in. Is what I'm getting at.
Sure.
If your date lineup is, hey, this date I'm hitting, Maudie's, and then this date we're hitting insert every other generic Austin restaurant, like one after the other, I'm gonna fault you for like lining up 4 dates that are all dinner focused.
Okay.
Like you need to be hitting a park, a festival, a concert, some sort of other event
Where there are multiple opportunities for input, but then
contribution.
So for me, that would be like drinks before. So you're out on drinks before dinner. You don't.
100,000,000% it adds 0 to my. That's just me.
Okay.
I am married to a person who would die on the hill of if she could have drinks before dinner at home on a Tuesday, she would take it.
Interesting.
Every single time.
And your
But
biggest
for
gripe
me,
is
it's always just been money out the window for
like
0 value.
that the added what you get out of it is tremendously.
Because
you're going to drink a glass of wine anyway at dinner. You're going to get a cocktail anyway. There's
first date, I get it.
Okay.
It gives you a bailout opportunity.
Mhm.
Absolutely, first date, sure, but don't build that into your repertoire. Don't ever agree to, hey, we'll just meet there and get a drink at the bar early, because then you get that, oh, she drops 20, or they, him,
Mhm.
or whoever drops $20 on the drink beforehand.
Yep.
Before you sit for $150 tab. The money isn't everything, but usually when you're dating, you're living that single income lifestyle, and that shit adds up real quick.
It does. From somebody who has built this routine into life, more or less. And it's no other reason other than it's just kind of what I'm used to. It's like, oh yeah, we'll grab, get there, grab a drink, or get to somewhere else.
I have seen drinks
before
at my table.
the hotel bar before going out to dinner. You're just like, oh, I'll have a cocktail, sit there, wait. It does add up, but it does provide an
I'll
opportunity.
vote for dessert after
Okay.
elsewhere.
It does provide an opportunity if it's date 4 and you say, hey, we're going to meet up at, we have a reservation at 6, and you sit at the bar and you have 1 glass of wine, and you might even bring it to your table, right? As long as you please close out your tabs, everybody. Unless you're in Texas, then you can walk them for 20%. But it does provide an opportunity to start, a little skin in the game. It's an easy, hey, okay, $28 for 2 whiskey sours. Here we go. Now you go move on to the $150 tab that you pick up. But would you agree date 4-ish is kind of at least
by
an
all
effort?
means. Like
Okay.
if it is all dinner and meal focused, by all means you got a problem if you're getting to that point without some shared investment.
Yeah.
I still would say you're setting yourself up for failure if you're
Okay.
setting yourself up for
all
those
dinner,
sort of dates
all
back to
only
back to
dinner
back.
dates. I like that. I think dinner and drinks 1, dinner and drinks 2, 3 to 4, switch it up. Hit the pier, hit the pumpkin patch, hit the something outside of the
Still
routine.
go to dinner, but then like those dinners can always be lower
Lower
not
investment.
lower value, but but like you've been together all day. Neither of you are trying to go change and then go to a steakhouse after
Sure.
you've been out doing something all day.
Love it. Let's do the last one, KJ. Hey guys.
Me,
Oh, you want to hit it?
You got
Yeah.
it. Sure,
for it.
sure. Me, 2 buddies and their wives planned a trip overseas for my birthday and one of the wives' birthdays. So it looks to be a 5-some plus or 4-some plus this person.
Mhm.
We had the itinerary set and all agreed to splurge on the hotel's restaurant reservations. My buddy's wife, whose birthday it is, recently informed us that she's invited her best friend from work and her husband on the trip, now making this a 7 top. Putting aside the inexplicable move to invite people without asking the rest of the group, the other couple and I both liked them a lot, and we were happy to include them. Only problem is, we later learned that they are going through some financial turbulence, operating on significantly smaller budget. Birthday girl is now telling us we must change the whole itinerary, no hotels, split Airbnbs, cheaper restaurants, etc., to accommodate the new people. I feel like I can't raise a complaint without coming off like a jerk and commenting on someone's financial hardships, but the entire trip has now changed. Am I in the wrong for being annoyed? Or I'm not in the wrong for being annoyed, right? Well framed. I don't know what to do in this situation.
This is tough. This is tough. It's your birthday, but more importantly, it's one of the wives' birthdays. So you lose that battle. You lose the battle because you are the single friend, or presumably, if you're going by yourself, friend. So you lose the room battle, right? You're not winning this war. So my advice to you is just enjoy what you can, and maybe set aside time to get out, maybe with one couple, or the work friend couple can kind of go do their own thing one night, and you and the other couple can do your thing one night. So you're not wrong to be annoyed. It's a crazy move for them to invite another couple without consulting the group and then changing everything about the itinerary. You're right there. But I don't think you win this battle without being like, I'm just not going to go, which is not an option.
I totally know how this went too. It was like,
Oh yeah, they
were-
compromised and went with none of his.
Well, I'm thinking about how they got invited. Like she was just like getting excited, like, "Oh my god, you guys should come!" And like her husband's like, "Oh,
Mhm.
you probably should have asked that other people before that."
Yeah, financial turbulence. Let's book the overseas trip. Yeah.
Maybe you should just back out and just do a solo trip to Japan. I'll let you know how it goes in a month.
Japan.
What say you,
This
KJ?
guy. I think again to what you said, find ways to still enjoy the experience. Thinking back to our recent Chicago trip, it was a little unique in the sense like all of you traveled together. I traveled separately. We ended up staying at the same hotel, but then with the exception of Will and Sally, and our itineraries were fairly split up. Maybe like slightly more than like the ideal situation, but I think it allowed us not to stress one another out too much.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I see that there's always a ton of value in being in the same space, especially because you always go into it with like this fear of FOMO. And what if I miss out, or there's like an Uber cab or Uber ride, but I've got to take somewhere else. Like think of the inconvenience, like put all that aside. If they want to get a big Airbnb together, great. Nothing stopping you from having an Airbnb or a hotel, assuming you can find one in similar proximity, like in reasonable proximity to yourself.
Yeah.
Especially given that it's couple and couples. Like, don't put yourself in a situation where like you're now living on like everyone else's time. Doesn't mean you can't crash their Airbnb if you just, the night gets out of hand. But it also allows you the flexibility to say like, it's your birthday too. Let's say the night goes really well and you've got your own space, if that's an option.
Yeah. I don't
That's
hate
my recommendation.
I don't hate the as long as you can get something close to the hotel, maybe a hotel upgrade or something that you can sort of enrich your experience where maybe you're budgeting for this and you've had it planned and you're excited about XYZ, you can always do I don't think it's crazy if you're going on an overseas trip for, call it a week, to have a dinner res, either it's yourself or split the group on some sort of res. It's going to be a really nice place. It's your birthday too. So you don't get to win every battle here, but there are a couple that you can get away with, I think, without, torpedoing the trip per se.
Yeah.
But
And I would say also, like, I go back to the whole thought of if every, I don't know, when I go to Vegas, I'm focused on the restaurants. But I will say most of my memories are like made up of the gambling experience or the other things in between all the meals. But we usually overbook and overplan on the meals. And like,
Mhm.
that's what gets me on the plane is thinking of those things. If they're in the same situation, I respect that. But you'll still have the opportunity to make all of those positive vibes and memories if you compromise on the restaurants a little bit.
Mhm.
Or you just say, hey, here's where we're going. And they can just have the agreement of like, here's what our food budget is. It's going to be awkward, but like, great. They're going to put $50 in a person for this dinner. Everybody else can like be okay with it. I personally would be more than happy to overpay by $30 or $40 or whatever, if it meant I'm still having a dynamite food experience. And I feel like I'm also allowing somebody else who's not in a position to have that otherwise,
Mhm.
like, be there with me and we're having it together. Like that would be more valuable to me than stepping down and there being like this air of bitterness.
Sure.
Yeah. If you can get over it, get over it. If not, be willing to like front a little bit more, pay more than your share, but
Yeah.
be happy with whatever you do.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. If you're going to go overseas, try to enjoy it as much as you can. There are ways to do it, even solo and even without the group. KJ, when I travel with KJ, we just try to find the loudest, most incoherent Zach Bryan performers at insert bar here of all time. I didn't hear a word you said for an hour and a half.
I wasn't saying anything sensible. Shout out to good lad from Muggsy who
Lebo.
suffered that as well. But it was a good reminder of like, hey, while you feel like a veteran in this bar scene, you're not about that life.
Oh, it can humble you quick. It can humble you quick. As a recently
Really realize that like you've curated like the things that you like. I only like these bars with no lines that have these kind of walls and these pictures and this much space and this music and this food. Everything else is gonna be shit.
Right.
But it was a great experience. I wanted every bit of it more. I walked back to the hotel, did a lap around the hotel. I was like, can I go back? Should I? I didn't, but I almost did.
For me, it's Carve. It's Carve. It's where I'm going for lunch. It's where I'm going to do a live blog. Carve. It's the music is turned down as to encourage conversation, not limit it. So KJ and I are lip reading for an hour and a half and just kind of nodding and yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for us. Thank you, KJ, for hopping on as a special guest this week. Please subscribe. Rate 5 stars, review, and tell a friend about the show. Hit the hotline number 888-362-MAIL. That is 888-362-6245. KJ, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Too Much Dip on Mondays here on Wash Media or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me on the socials at KJ Ellis with ones as the L's.
We are the Mail-In. You can find us where you're listening right now. Thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week. And I think Sally will be back. So we're excited for that. Thank you, KJ. Thank you, Randy. Catch y'all later.